So in Remnant 2, you have a choice of either going melee or ranged. And in this video, I'm going to show you the absolute best melee build you can put together. And this goes for all melee weapons. It's just going to be a lot more risky, and you're going to have to be a lot more patient if you're using weapons that don't have the same ability as something like the World's Edge. So with the World's Edge, if you charge attack, if we have a look quickly, you're going to send out a horizontal wave and it's going to deal a lot of damage. Obviously, not all melee weapons have that, but you do have some. For an example, if I go into my character, if we have a look, we've got the Huntress Spear. If you charge attack, you can throw that at enemies. And if we land a crit, there you go, there's 1400 on a crit there. You've also got something like the Kraut Axe. If we equip that, you can chuck that as well. And that one deals nice shock damage as well, and still does over 1100 for a crit. So this build goes across any melee weapon in the game. It's just going to be better with the weapons, in my opinion, the weapons that you can throw or the weapons that have like the horizontal slice. And the World's Edge is a weapon that you get for completing the game on Apocalypse difficulty. So with this build, what we're going to do is the primary archetype is going to be the Challenger. This secondary is going to be the Alchemist. You can switch these round if you want to, but the reason I've gone with Challenger is because I die a lot. This game is basically a Souls-like, so the game is designed to be difficult and for players to die a lot. So I like having the Die Hard Prime perk so that when I receive fatal damage, instead of dying, I become invulnerable for 3 seconds and I regain 100% of my health, even though that can only be used once every 10 minutes. A crystal, like a checkpoint, will reset that timer. For the main archetype, the Challenger skill, we're going to be using Juggernaut, because you become nearly unstoppable, gaining 3 stacks of Bulwark. You get increased movement and melee speed, and you get 50% increased melee damage. The stagger level reduces by 1 and it lasts 25 seconds. And after switching it over, on the Alchemist side, we're going to be using Frenzy Dust. It creates a mysterious vapor cloud which lasts 10 seconds and applies Frenzied. And that increases your fire rate, reload speed, and melee speed by 20%, and your movement speed by 15%. So if we go with a charged attack, you're seeing crits, the yellow numbers, up to about 1700. There was a 1768. And it goes up every now and then because of the mutator we've got on, which we'll go through in a minute. But then if I pop both the skills, then you'll see that damage goes up to over 2200. There's 2233, 2220, 2274. So the damage is really, really good when these skills are active. But popping back into the character screen, the armor, I would go with whatever you want to wear, just providing that your role is medium. And that's because you're going to get a decent dodge, but you're also going to get a high armor value. So mine's at 165, which is going to give me damage reduction that totals 55.3% less damage. And if you're playing on the higher difficulties, you're going to need a lot of damage reduction. Then with the relic, I've gone with a Quilted Heart because it doesn't provide standard healing. Instead, what it does is negates stamina drain and causes your evades to heal for 15 health. Especially when you come against the enemies that chuck stuff at you and shoot at you, like for an example in Loathsome, or even like the robots in the Rood, you're going to be evading quite a lot. You're going to need as much stamina as you can get. So the Quilted Heart, in my opinion, is a really, really good relic for it. And in terms of my relic fragments, I've got melee attack speed, crit chance, and crit damage, because the entire melee build is based around crits. So then we have the World's Edge at plus 10. We've got Overdrive as the mutator on it, because crit hits increase the critical chance and damage by 5% for 15 seconds, and it stacks up to 5 times. So you're going to get 25% critical hit chance and critical hit damage after 5 melee critical hits. And when you've got that level 10, your crit strikes deal 20% additional damage. So you're getting 25% chance, 45% damage. And then over with the rings and the amulet, we've got Burden of the Gambler, so that we disable the weak spots. We can't get like proper headshots and stuff, but that's going to increase our crit chance by 10% and the damage by 20%. We've got the probability cord for crit damage buffed by 30%. We've then got Berserker's Crest for the melee charge speed increased by 20% and reducing the melee stamina cost by 25%, because your stamina is going to be really, really important. Every single charged attack with a melee weapon drains a lot of stamina, And then we have the Fey Warrior Ring for melee damage to be increased by 15%. And then in terms of the amulet, we've got the Butcher's Fetish. It increases the crit chance by 15% and crit damage by 25% for 15 seconds after striking an enemy with a charged melee attack. And obviously, when you're using something like the Huntress Spear, the Crow Axe, or the World's Edge, you're going to be using your charged melee attack quite often. And then for the traits, we have Strong Back, which is the Challenger one. And what that's going to do is reduce your encumbrance by up to 10 when you've got them maxed out. We've then got Potency for consumable duration to be doubled. Then Regrowth, because I really like health regen. I tried running this with different traits and it wasn't too successful. So Regrowth for the health regen. Fortify because it gives you armor effectiveness increased by 50%. Untouchable because it increases your evade window by 30%. Then we've got Triage to increase the healing effectiveness. And we've also got Vigor for the max health. We've got Endurance for your max stamina. And we've got Bark Skin because it's pretty much mandatory. It reduces all your incoming damage by 10%. And then with this build, there are a few consumables I would recommend using. One of them being the Gold Serum because it reduces your stamina consumption by 50% and lasts for 2 minutes. Then I've also got Bloodroot just in case I need to regen some health that lasts a minute. The other one's going to be Rocket Fuel because it increases your fire rate by 10% but your melee attack speed by 15%, even though that one only lasts for 40 seconds. And the final one, which is the Verdant Tea, it increases your stamina recovery by 20 per second and reduces stamina regen penalty by 50%. It lasts 2 hours and will stay in effect after death. So what you're wanting to aim for with a build like this, and as I said, it works for any melee weapon in the game, it's just much better for the ones where you get like the AoE swipe with this World's Edge. You get to throw the weapon with the Huntress Spear and the Crow Axe. And what you're going to be aiming for with this build is you're going to be going for your crits, your chance, and your damage. And you're going to be going for your melee charge speed. So you want to be able to like fling these horizontal lines out as much as you possibly can, like as fast as you can. And they are really good, especially like the standard enemies. If there's a group of them and you crit every single one of them, you're going to be dealing like over 2,000 damage. You're pretty much going to wipe out an entire horde in one swipe with the World's Edge. But then obviously with things like the Crow Axe or the Huntress Spear, you can just aim and chuck them at the enemy's heads and stuff. I mean, you don't even have to aim for the head because obviously we've got a ring on that disables the weak spot. You can aim anywhere, just get a crit and they're basically going to die straight away. And what we're going to do now is switch over. I'm going to show you gameplay of me actually taking down a boss because I've had a lot of complaints. I won't be doing bosses in every single video. I like showcasing the builds against normal enemies. Especially because if you're using something like a melee build, I tried this exact build against a boss in one of the sewers. And I think it's called the Bloke King. It's the giant like slug thing that sits on the ceiling. And that spits out an orb. And that orb flies around shooting things at you. And that's like the main part of the boss that you need to attack to deal damage during that phase. And yeah, the AoE swipe does not work against that boss. But not only that, if you're using standard melee, you're not chucking an axe or a spear or anything like that. You're not going to be able to attack flying bosses. So when I showcase builds, I like to show them against normal enemies because it gives you an idea of like running through worlds and finding secrets and improving your build and stuff, not just always taking down the bosses. And you'll see with this boss, for an example, all you've got to do with a melee build, with something like this, is just run around, get yourself a little bit of space, and the crits, the amount you land is absolutely insane. There are way more hits that are critical than what there are standard, and obviously critical hits are dealing more. I believe on this build that I've got, the crit damage is 125% extra. And then using the mutator that we've got, you're building up your damage and your chance even more. So it's a really good build for anyone looking into the melee weapons in the game. And that's for standard weapons and the ones that you can throw and the ones that have the horizontal swipes and stuff. And there we go. So we have taken down a boss on Apocalypse difficulty with a melee build. And that, in my opinion, is the best melee build you can get in Remnant 2. And on that note, we are going to leave the video there. If you enjoyed it, leaving a like is appreciated. If you wish to support me further as a creator, there are links in the description. Let me know your thoughts about the video in the comments. And if you want to watch more, you can click the video on screen. All support on the channel is greatly appreciated, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching.